Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. For those of you who haven't been dodging spoilers, hopefully you've been enjoying the Final Fantasy 16 uploads. I still have more on the way, and I want to start this video by stating I'm still not going to be answering spoiler-related questions for 16. I think I mentioned it last week, that even if they were spoiler tagged, I didn't want to take them. If not, I meant to mention it next week, just because I don't want people having to dodge certain parts of the video for the time being. What I am going to do is make that spoiler video and put it out this week, where I'm going to talk about the various aspects that at least made a more serious impression on me, and talk about some of the more prominent discussions within the Final Fantasy 16 community at the moment. So if there is a spoiler related question in this video, I'm letting you know now at the start, I will not have answered it. So take that as you will, I suppose. If it's just tagged as spoilers, I'm just going to scroll past it and it won't be in the video. And if you're someone who hasn't played 16, that way you don't have to worry about, like, you know, oh, did he add tags at the bottom? There's not going to be any of that, so don't worry about it. As such, I think this video will be pretty short. There aren't too many comments on last week's video. I think everyone was too busy actually playing 16 and trying to avoid spoilers themselves. So just gonna get back to our usual with that one. One announcement though, before we go any further. Next Sunday, July 9th on Twitch, I am going to be doing a subathon. For those who aren't too familiar with Twitch, a subathon is basically where you start the stream with a certain amount of length, and any sort of monetized support extends the duration of said stream and extends the duration of said marathon. So let's say I do a maximum of 12 hours a day, but I've earned 30 hours in the marathon. So I would start with the remaining 18 hours on the next day. And because of that, I have to extend streams in order to catch up with the time. And it follows a theme. My main theme is actually something I've been meaning to do for a while now. It's called a Final Fantasy Shuffler. For those who don't know, there's a program called BizHawk, which is an emulator that allows you to do all sorts of crazy stuff using Lua scripts. One of the more popular things is to shove a bunch of games into it and have it randomly change the game with save states while you're playing within like a certain time frame. So for example, I could be in the middle of playing Final Fantasy 1, and then like maybe 6 minutes in, it'll swap to Final Fantasy 5. And then another 4 minutes in, maybe it swaps to Final Fantasy 8, etc., etc. And I'm going to be doing Final Fantasies 1 through 9 and trying to finish all of them within the series of the subathon. I do also owe Final Fantasy Tactics from Count Up, so if I do finish that, then Tactics would be up next. If there's still time left, I'll get around to the Tactics no matter what, but that would be the follow-up plan right after. So I'm going to be doing that over on Twitch starting at 7 a.m. Pacific on July 9th, as I said. And I am in the process of preparing YouTube content in advance of that. Plus, we're predicting, isn't confirmed, 6.45 for July 18th. Plus, we are going to have FanFest this month on July 28th. And I'm still planning stuff for 16 and 14 and all sorts of video series. Continuing some stuff we started earlier in the year. Continuing those video series and getting a bunch of uploads set and done in advance. You know, that's when I always feel most productive, is when I can do that. And I definitely feel like this is going to be about that time. So with that announcement, be sure to stop by. There's always the Twitch link in the description. And if you're someone with like an Amazon Prime and you want to pop in and use a Prime sub or something like that for the subathon, great. You can keep me going for a little while longer. There's going to be other smaller incentives and long form incentives as well based on certain breakpoints, but all that information will be in the description of the video as well. So with that announcement out of the way, thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon. You don't have to support, you choose to. Everything on my content, everything on my channel, all the content is available for free. So continue to enjoy it and only use that if you really want to. Same goes with the super thanks or anything else on YouTube. I'm just glad that you enjoy the content. With that, let's get into our Q&A, which again, I don't think will be that long this week. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Well met, Mrhappy. Well met. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. A little tired, but that's nothing new. What's your favorite movie? I don't think I have a favorite movie, because like every different movie is like, I have to grade it on like a different scale. I think the movie that's excited me the most to go see, like I've anticipated it the most, and like I'm most like pleased with what I was expecting versus the result, I think is probably Spider-Man No Way Home. And that's a relatively recent one. Like growing up, you know, I saw like, you know, Adam Sandler movies and comedies of all kinds and, you know, more serious movies. My dad was obsessed with Gladiator my whole childhood, so I freaking hate that movie now. But yeah, I think in terms of just like a good balance of expectation versus what actually came out of it, No Way Home is just such a huge Huge treat for me as someone who's been a long time fan of Spider-Man, long before the movies, even when I was a kid. So yeah, I think I'm gonna make that my answer. No Way Home. And you could already see the next question in the previous question. Good thing it wasn't a 16 spoiler question or anything, or I'd have to re-record the first one. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday is hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well at the time of reading this. Yeah, I'm recording this and one other thing, and then I'm going to the gym. But I made sure to eat something before this, so I'm all good on that front. Thank you. I was talking to a friend before about linear versus horizontal progression in MMOs, and 14 came up in the discussion regarding gearing. My question is, what are your thoughts on linear versus horizontal, and would horizontal progression even work? So keep in mind that horizontal and vertical are literally the same thing in different directions. Vertical progression is normally several very long vertical branches with tiny little stints in each of them. Normally like an option here, an option there, nothing major. You know, it's mostly about the trip up and not about the trip to the side, but you know, a couple things to maybe choose between. Horizontal is the same. It goes this way, except the branches go up, because you could have like no matter what you're collecting gear for in horizontal progression, there's still usually a vertical tier list among things that you want to go between. So essentially they accomplish nearly the same thing. The only difference is with horizontal, you tend to use the gear for longer, but it also tends to mean that the increases in power are far smaller and more incremental. So you rarely get like a power fantasy from actually going up in those, whereas vertical focuses on the power fantasy and the options become secondary. So it's just down to what your game is made for. Horizontal progression games very often come with longer and more tedious grinds. And that's why we've kind of moved away from it, because generally speaking, a lot of games have moved towards making sure they can have satisfied players that do not have as much time as they used to when, you know, gaming was in its infancy, or was at least younger than it is today at the very least. I generally don't care much for horizontal progression. I grew up with horizontal progression. Almost every game I played, including Final Fantasy XI, the most major one, focused on that. And I remember the amount of hours, and I remember being pumped about getting like 11 more damage on like a spell. And like, yeah, when I was young, that was fine. But nowadays, the headache I went through going 9 months without getting a body piece, or 14 months without getting a leg, like, I don't want to do that again for 12 damage or whatever it is. And it's funny because Final Fantasy XI now is still horizontal, but the power fantasy for each horizontal piece is much higher, but it also makes it a real pain because you actually get both problems. You get the problem of how much time it takes to horizontally collect everything, plus the power fantasy and people kind of gating you out of things if you don't have enough gear on that front as well, though that's mostly only on Asura. So they've managed to create both problems in Final Fantasy XI somehow. The good news is you can solo through a lot of the stuff that gets you to the power fantasy, but still an absolute pain. So I'm not a huge fan of horizontal progression anymore. It made more sense to me when I had more time. And if you're someone with a lot of time, or someone who even just like really values the gear, like as a person, like if you're like, oh, I really value stuff that I can use for a long time. I don't care anymore. It's all pixels. I just want to have a game that's fun and not a game that I can hold on to for absolutely ever, and like hold on to everything I make in there forever, and like feel strong and powerful and like superior. Like, it's just none of that shit matters to me anymore. So that's how I feel. It's just, but it has its place, and the people who want it can find it, but it's definitely not the superior option, and I do not want it in 14. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hope you're doing great. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. My journey, as you can see, has continued to prosper. I'm like 192-ish now. 160 is still my lowest. That was college haps. That was even like pre YouTube haps, where I was like 170, 175, but I had been working out, except that I had hit an injury before I started doing YouTube stuff majorly, and fortunately, that's not an issue much anymore. But I'm doing great. Question, what are your favorite characters in the mainline Final Fantasy series from a gameplay perspective? I mean, Squall actually goes up there a lot. I love the idea of having turn-based games with active action mechanics. Super Mario RPG, stuff like, you know, having to time the jumps to get more jumps with Mario. Love that. Can't wait for the remake. The trigger on the gunblade, love stuff like that. I like seeing that interaction. Blocking Mario RPG. I mean, that's why Super Mario RPG and the soon-to-be remake, and Sea of Stars, which is coming out, you know, in the next couple months as well. I love that kind of involvement and extra layer of stuff on top of the more skill-based layers on turn-based RPGs. So because of that, even though Squalls is very simple, it's not impressive at all. It definitely gets points from me for that as a whole. Other than that, from a gameplay perspective, I mean, the first 10 Final Fantasy games, it's like which of them have strong abilities and which of them don't. You know, there's not really much other than, I guess, some of the limit breaks from like 7 onward, because, you know, you have ones that are like button presses or slot machines or, you know, timed presses like the Renzokuken or whatever the pronunciation is. And then you have, you know, it's just, you've got those like little elements in there as well. But they don't really offer any sort of, it's not like substantial. I'm just saying if I have to pick one, I guess Squall kind of wins by default because he actually has an active gameplay mechanic. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Meow, Mr. Happy and cats? Ivy ran. I don't even know where she went. I have a question about FanFest, as this will be my first one. I am going to be making a video going over exactly what to expect, both from the physical attendance and from people just looking for information and like what type of content normally comes out of it. But of course, that means I'll still answer your question. Don't really know what to expect. That's why I'm making the video. Do you know what will happen on the 2-day event? I mean, yeah, it's going to be the opening keynote on the expansion, a bunch of panels. I don't know. I think the cosplay contest is the second day. I think it's an art contest the first day. So yeah, opening keynote on the expansion, bunch of panels about different things. What's it called? Piano concert. Second day, bunch of panels. There will be the PvP finals. There will be the cosplay competition. I think the cosplay competition is on the second day. PvP for sure on the second day. PvP, cosplay contest, panel, live letter, and Primal's concert. And then the actual show floor will have the Asura battle. They'll probably do some other battle stuff too. They normally have like an alliance raid stuff or like an extreme trial roulette that you can do where they like give you debuffs with like a spinny wheel. There's normally like mini games that you can expect, maybe some gold saucer themed stuff. And then other than that, you have the merch line, you have the artist alley, and you usually have like a couple other things. I don't know everything they're going to do because I don't think they've given us all the floor plans, but they'll probably will start doing that this month. But it is a lot of just, honestly, if not for seeing people, I probably wouldn't even want to go personally. Like, I'm not going this year because of financial stuff, because I'm trying to recover from years of supporting my mother financially. Still ongoing. But when I do go, I actually don't care about any of that stuff. It like is so irrelevant to me. I'm just there for the other people. And a lot of people I know go for the same reason. They kind of get there. They get through the hype of the opening keynote. And then they're like, you want to go do this stuff? Long line. Panel, can't really pay attention to it as well as I want to. Trying to do other stuff, panels. Most people I know just end up hanging out. Maybe go check if a creator's there that they want to see. They go try to say hi to the creator, get a picture, take pictures with friends, go get food, actually check out Vegas. All those things end up becoming more important than FanFest past the major information points. But who knows? You know, I don't speak for everyone. Everyone goes about enjoying it differently, and you'll just have to find your own fun, I suppose. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing all right. I am. Same to you. One of my favorite things to talk about in this game is fight quality. And while it's very subjective, it's always fun to discuss. I'm curious as to your analysis of ultimate fight quality. As while the general consensus is that they're all solid, some are definitely better than others. Can't speak for as much as someone who's clear to woo an UCoB, but I have heard that T, as well as most of Top, have design philosophies that don't mesh well with a lot of players' taste. Yeah, they don't have design philosophies that mesh well with players' taste. So here's the thing. Phase 3 with T generally isn't complained about much. Wormhole is generally what you would be referring to. And phase 4 is more so that it's just a very easy final 6 minutes comparatively to the very hectic phase 2 plus Wormhole in phase 3. So it's kind of like aesthetically awesome, but mechanically underwhelming. And Top is literally just that every mechanic can target every player in every possible permutation across the entire fight. And as such, players don't like that, which is weird to me because I'm of the opinion that it's boring when you can only be targeted by 1 or 2 things when 4 or 5 things are happening in the mechanic. Like as a Fizz ranged, it's like, oh, well, you'll always get targeted by this or this. So you'll only ever do this or this. It's like there's some security in knowing I'll only ever have to do 1 of 2 things. And also some security in knowing everyone else will only have to do 1 of 2 things, which for me is usually the big thing. I'm always like, oh, please don't let anyone else screw it up. And then I screwed up the one time and I'm like, never mind. Now I need to focus on me not screwing it up, not other people. But for me, it's like, it's way more engaging and fun if I have to know how the entire mechanic works regardless of role. Because it also means that if I ever come back into the fight as another role, I already know what to do because I've had to do the entire mechanic and I've had to know the permutations of the mechanic. So I find that often when it comes to top and it's the taste of the mechanics, it just literally comes down to not liking how many different things you could possibly need to do. And that's the same problem with Wormhole as well. So I don't know, to me that's weird to just want the game to only tell you to do one of two things and to not, in an ultimate level content, to not expect to have you know what all the possibilities are. That's just way more engaging to me. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Heyo Happy. Hi, recently began my journey into UCoB and I think I already see the reason the name Twisters is feared. Yup, Twisters, Twintanya Reddy's Twister. Also, I'm wondering on if you launch an attack as the boss teleports away, does the attack still hit or does it get consumed? If you see a damage value, it is not consumed. It actually does deal the damage. If you do not see a damage value, as you have suggested, no, you have done no damage. It is incredibly unfortunate, but it is the card that we've been dealt. That's what we have to work around. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Howdy. Howdy. General question about playing 14 while being colorblind, and apologies as this has already been asked before. It's okay. When you're colorblind, you get to go your whole life with people going like, oh, you're colorblind? What color's this? What color's that? What color's you? What color are you? What color do you even know? Tell me everything that you don't know. Let me test you. Let me run you through the ringer real quick. I'm sure you'll love that. Great. Anyway, what's the question? Playing the game somewhat colorblind myself, mine is blue-green and purple-red, wanted to ask if you have developed any coping or accommodation strategies either by yourself or with the people you raid with to deal with color blindness. Yeah, not defining mechanics by color. In P12 Phase 2 and in, I guess it technically would be in DSRT and top, but like it's not that big a deal. Whenever the PlayStation tethers show up, people call it BPOG, which stands for blue, purple, the letter O, and green. Because, oh, that thing is not orange. That's just the letter O. And I literally don't identify them like that because X and square are too similar to me, and I can't tell if the triangle is green or yellow. So I just say X square, circle, triangle. X square, circle, triangle. I repeat things out loud when people generally identify mechanics by color. Or I come up with names or hues. Like, for example, some people call the dark mechanic in P12, they call it red. And that's accurate. So I either need to tell myself dark, like I need to say it out loud while red is being called, or I need another method of identifying. I like to say alliteration and rhyming help me overcome not really knowing, I don't know that that's red, but I know that people call it red. So what's a nice, easy way for me to remember that? I'll do like light laser left, right razor right. Like I'll just make up some dumb alliteration and just change letters and words because it helps me cope with the way that people tend to call things. And that's true of almost any color mechanic. Another great example, height in Alexander, way back in like actual Alexander. I can't tell really the color difference between they are, from what I remember, they are completely different colors. But I learned to identify height by actually looking at the debuff. And I have to do that a lot. That happens a lot with like Nises and T, like alpha, beta, gamma, delta. I have to just read the letter. I can't use the color of the debuff to be able to tell. So like, that's it. I just literally look for anything that is not the color to identify what I should be looking for. And to top it all off, if there's a mechanic that is visually hard to see because of the color, I tend to just try, like I learned how to face my camera certain ways to like see things. Great example, the P10 tether, the one where you're tethered to the tower and it shoots a giant conal AoE at you. It's like the very first mechanic that happens a couple more times throughout the fight. But I sometimes just can't see that tether, but you don't only get a tether when you're marked for that mechanic. You get wings on your back. I use the wings because they're easier for me to see in the mess of lights. That's usually like a soil or an asylum or the markers on the ground. It's easier for me to just look at my character and see I have wings. and then try to identify where the tether is and which one I'm tethered to, then to look for the tether and then realize too late that I have it and I'm already standing and I've just murdered everyone. So it's just looking for contextual clues per mechanic. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Sorry, I guess there was a hashtag use that asked how I was doing and then made 2 statements and didn't ask a question. So I've skipped that one because I didn't know what to do with that. Just letting you know. Hiya, Haps. Hope things are going well. I'd say they're going well enough. I have 2 questions. Sure. 1, do you think Dark Knight's Dark Mind will get the addle treatment to have some sort of physical mitt? You know, I never thought about giving it the addle treatment, but I mean, let me just say this about Dark Mind. I'm shocked it has survived as is to now. And I think the reason is strictly because it just makes Dark Knights feel unique against magic busters, which, hello phone, which there is a lot. That scared me. So it ends up almost being like, it just like feels really good when you have that extra Dark Mind, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I've never even thought of it doing that. I thought they were just going to make it all damage. But I mean, yeah, that's another way of doing it. So sure, why not? Again, I'm just surprised it's remained as is for as long as it has. And 2, do you think the GCD stun Paladins have will ever be removed? You know what's funny? Every time I think Shield Bash should maybe be... Phone! Every time... Both questions were interrupted. I'm sorry. Every time I think Shield Bash is going to get removed, something comes out where Shield Bash is good. It happens every time. And I don't remember what the most recent one is, but I know that it wasn't that long. Was it? It wasn't Criterion, was it? It might have been. There's always something that ends up coming out that makes me think, wow, I'm glad we have Shield Bash in the game still. So, like, here's the thing. Paladin needs ability trimming. Of all the abilities, of all the jobs that have button blow, Paladin and I think Samurai are on just an astronomical other level, even post-change. Like, it's better now, but it's so crazy how many things they have. So getting rid of little things like that, probably not the worst of ideas. But every time I think that they don't have a reason to have it, they give Paladins a reason to have it. So until that stops happening, it probably won't go away. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope you are getting settled into your new place and enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, I've been settled. I mean, it's still a little bit different living alone, but, you know, I got 2 cats to annoy the crap out of me, and I guess a phone after the last question. Yeah, so I'm doing all right. Sorry if this has been asked before, but wanted to ask for your opinion on Legacy versus Standard movement in 14 rating. I've been using Standard since I picked the game back 2-ish years ago. Jesus. And I'm pretty used to it, but made the switch to Legacy a few days ago to try it out. So far it seems better, but wanted to ask. It's a matter of feeling. There are a lot more benefits to Legacy now than there used to be. Back in the day when people would play Legacy as, like, let's say a bard, we used to not have omnidirectional auto attacks. So when you moved with Legacy and you moved left, right, or back, you actually stopped auto attacking, which sucks. You lost, like, people lost considerable damage, especially in a Realm Reborn, to just losing auto attacks. That's not a problem anymore. So while there are still occasionally, like, caster related problems with Legacy movement, it's really just down to feeling. Like, Legacy is fantastic, but Standard is, I mean, Standard is Standard as it calls. But if you like the Legacy movement, then it's awesome. Honestly, I think the only thing I don't like Legacy for nowadays is making micro adjustments for direction you're facing style attack. So let's say that you have an attack on you that's going to be fired in the direction you are looking, and you are in a spot and it's like the right spot, but you want to move back a little bit more. You want to move forward a little bit more. So you very quickly make the movement, but you now have changed the direction you're facing. So, like, let's say if I did that on Standard, let's say I needed to take a couple of steps away from the boss, I would do this, but I'd still be facing this way the whole time. Whereas on Legacy, you'll do this, and you risk firing it back the other way. And I have seen that happen. I've seen that happen a considerable amount in the last couple of expansions. That's, like, the only time I don't like Legacy, and that's such a fringe case. I prefer Standard. It's definitely what I'm more comfortable with, outside of soloing deep dungeons, funnily enough, but they're both great. So don't let anyone tell you should or have to play one or the other. If you like Legacy, go for it, because it has a lot of benefits. Hashtag one days with Mrhappy. Sorry, I had to throw on a pass. As soon as I started reading it, like, Patrick's voice popped into my head. Hey, dude. Hi. Since you did count up to the 16 streams, glad you enjoyed it. I've got a question about spin-offs or sequels to mainline games like After Years, Revenant Wings, Dirge, etc. Not sure how many of them you've played, but do you have any personal recommendations out of the spin-off and sequels titles? Any that are, in your opinion, worth expanding on their game setting? You know, I'll give you a few general thoughts. Revenant Wings is very weird. I don't know that I can recommend it. After Years is literally, did you like Final Fantasy IV? Do you want to play it again? Because it's otherwise not very good, but it is literally just more Final Fantasy. It's an excuse to play more Final Fantasy IV. I don't like it at all either. But still, again, Dirge of Cerberus, honestly, I don't like that game, but it is dumb fun and kind of an interesting experiment. The other Final Fantasy VII games, I mean, Crisis Core, I would recommend, especially the remaster / remake or whatever they're calling it that came out back in December. Highly, highly recommend that. We have Ever Crisis coming out soon, too. I'm going to maybe make a few videos on Ever Crisis. We'll see. The beta, I think, is this week. And so hopefully I'll get a look at it and I can make some stuff for you guys here on YouTube to get you informed. What's another one? Oh, 13.2 is great. 13.2 is, in my opinion, every way better than 13. Having recently replayed it, I still feel that way. Lightning Returns, I always love the gameplay, but there's the actual, like, game mechanics and the story are nonsense. So that one's a tough one. 10.2 has really good gameplay, but not a good story at all. I already mentioned Revenant Wings. Is there any other one that I should think of? 7? No. 5 has, I think, an anime. 3, 2. No, I don't think any of the other ones. The only other kind of sequel is Final Fantasy II Dawn of Souls, which has like that bonus dungeon after you beat the game. And it's actually, I don't like Final Fantasy II as a game, but I love that bonus content from like a gameplay and lore standpoint. One of the best ideas they've had that's just come out of like seemingly nowhere, in all honesty. Other than that, I mean, it just comes down to like, you know, playing Crystal Chronicles and stuff like that, the Dissidia games. There's a lot of really good ones kind of strewn about. If I can make a recommendation of one that's not a spin-off, if you're into dungeon crawlers, Chocobo Dungeon, the remaster that came out not long ago. It's pretty good. I could recommend it. So yeah, that's how I feel just generally about some of those titles, and I think you can get my recommendations kind of out of that. Hashtag Mrhappy. By the way, I'm dragging these answers out to drag out the length of the video. I could have been done with this like 10 minutes ago already because there's not very many left. Hashtag Mrhappy Monday. Howdy. Hi. First time asking. Welcome. My FC is wanting to start working towards doing ultimate content. We plan to start on Uwu and work forward from there. Would current gear sync down for BIS work, or would BIS from that past patch be best? So there's specific sets that are BIS for specific ultimate fights. Great example for DSR, you want the 6.3 dungeons gear for your left side because all of those melds will carry over. For your right side, I don't think there's 635 accessories, so you actually do want the 630 accessories because we've only just barely passed that gear point. So the extra HP and damage that you get from having something that's not synced down and having the extra 5 item levels on the left side stuff actually makes a huge difference. It really helps circumvent some of the potential issues along with the increased food and pots that we've gotten. For the Omega Protocol, you'll want 6.5's dungeon gear when 6.5 comes around. If not, you would need 6.2's best in slot, plus whatever, you know, food and pots. But looking back at the other ones, what you should do is you should quickly go to the balance. Most jobs have a best in slot set that they recommend. I think Uwu, UCoB, and T are mostly just okay to do synced. Unless you're a tank or a healer, I think then they recommend you go back and get item level appropriate stuff so you can meld direct hit. You also want item level appropriate stuff if you want to set up your skill speed or spell speed specifically, but that may not require getting every single piece. So my real recommendation on top of the information I've just given is to go to the balance, which is a Discord/site that will give you this information, and follow their recommendations because it will be much more specifically tailored to the individual jobs than the general advice I'm giving you now. Okay, before this, there was a spoiler question that I skipped for 16. Apologies for that. I'm just trying to stick to people not needing to skip around the video for that. And then there was a question, well, it wasn't even a question, it was the explanation of the 6 and 9 GCD. I didn't realize you were talking about, I just call that double true strike. So that's why I was confused. I either call that, I just say double true strike or normal. I don't call it 6 or 9. So yeah, that actually did perfectly explain. I knew exactly what you were talking about as soon as you said it. That being said, we have the question in front of us. Hey, Haps, how's it going? It's going good. Oh, hashtag Mr. Happy Aloha Mondays. He's not even here right now. He's in the bathroom. He's laying on the bathroom mat. It's going good. How's your fitness journey been going? It's been going good. Look, I don't really have, unfortunately, I still got a lot of like skin and fat, but you know, I'm getting there. I don't even really do upper body that much. Oh, well, let me rephrase. I don't do arms very much. I do back, and arms kind of come with that. And I do chest and tries kind of come with that. And then shoulders I do in isolation. Although I'll probably be swapping to pull and push because I just want to change my regimen instead of doing like chest day and arms day and shoulder. Like I want to change it to push pull legs, which is like another thing that I used to do. Push being you do like majority chest, a few supporting tri workouts, and then some shoulder workouts that are like focused more on the like the forward part of the shoulder, and then on pull days you focus on the back part of the shoulder, and then you do biceps. It's the same idea. And then legs, you usually do ab days with leg days. So I'm probably going to be swapping to that just to change things up because it's been a couple months at this point, and that always helps with plateauing. So that's what I think. I think today's going to be push day, actually. Why do you think it took Nintendo and Square so long to collab again for Mario RPG Remake? Is there some bad blood? No, there's no bad blood. Square and Nintendo have been collabing for ages. It was one of those games that never needed anything done. There's just nothing. There was nothing to be done for it for ages. Like the game, the old Super Mario RPG still looks great for its era, plays great for its era, and is a beloved treasure. There was never a reason to remake it until remakes became like a super omega popular thing. And even then, it doesn't necessarily warrant being like a top priority over everything else. We've continued to see RPGs for Mario, and Square never stopped doing theirs. Plus, Square's already still been publishing stuff like Octopath, which was exclusive to the Switch for like a year. Bravely, which is, you know, on the DS, as well as, you know, Bravely Default 2 being Switch exclusive for a while. So like, yeah, they've done it. It's just there's been no reason to specifically touch Mario RPG for a remake because it was already as good as it was. There's just no reason. But I'm glad that they're doing it because it's going to sell and it's awesome. So I'm glad more people are going to see it for the first time. Okay, and that actually was the last question. There is technically another question. Someone was asking if ultimates are really as hard as they say. The big thing with ultimates is they're way more strict on body checks, is what we call them. At least now more days than before, where if people are dead, mechanics instantly become either completely unsolvable or nearly unsolvable. And on top of that, they're all incredibly long, grueling tests of consistency, because all of them range from like 16 to almost 20 minutes. And as such, one mistake sending you back that amount of time also means you have less time to practice the mechanics. So not only will everything kill you, not only does your MIT and your healing need to be on point, and depending on which fight, your damage, you also need to be completely consistent for a very long period of time, and a single mistake can send you all the way back. So that's the reason. That one didn't have a hashtag, but I figured I'd answer it anyway. I think there was another one here that was asking, so it was like kind of a spoiler question for 16, but it's more like just referring to reviews, spoiler-free reviews, saying that the side quests, they like some reviews are saying that the side quests were not very interesting. I already mentioned in my spoiler-free review that the side quests in terms of functional mechanics are not like groundbreaking by any means. They are as run-of-the-mill as you can get, but that the individual characters and the subject matter are phenomenal. So that's all I'll say on that. And it seems that you were just reflecting that thought in this as well. A few other things as well, more comments about the relic grinding, in that people saying like the reason why they complain about me wanting something that is, how do I put it? Me wanting something that is, an option on top of tomes is that knowing Square they would take away tomes. Yeah, but that doesn't make my feedback any less valid. I'm saying keep the tomes and add something else. So I don't care if you think that from the history. That's not the feedback I'm providing. That's like saying that if I provide feedback for like raid loot that they shouldn't do it because historically they've done this. That doesn't make my feedback or my suggestion or my ask any different than what I'm asking. So I don't care. Get over it. Everyone who's like, no, tomes are great because they're do all be all and you can just do more tome farming. And every time somebody makes a suggestion that could make it better for some people without hindering other people, as in it only improves the overall experience. It's weird that when people provide that kind of feedback that somehow people find a way to still complain about it. That's fascinating to me. So that's where I'm going on that one. But anyway, that's going to be the last question for this week's Q&A. With that, thank you for watching. Be sure to ask your questions in the comments of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Tune in for the subathon next Sunday, July 9th, and hopefully I'll have some fun content coming out of that for you as well. I'm also planning some other stuff for the channel this month, both 16 related and 14 related. So keep an eye out, even without FanFest, even before going to FanFest, I should say, and even before 6.45, it is going to be a busy time. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. And until then, take care.